Honestly, I could never expect to be in a relationship with a guy who is almost 20 years younger than me and who is so good in bed at his age. Please listen to the story until the end. It is very important and sensual for me. Enjoy. Alright, so I'm 38, just a regular guy trying to make it through life. I work as an accountant, a job that's steady but takes up most of my time. I've been at it for years, stashing away money for retirement, trying to secure the future. Honestly, it's a grind. And now you will know how I found my gay love and the best intimacy in my life. 8 years ago, I was married. I know, a lot of people don't expect that when they hear the rest of the story, but yeah, I was married to this beautiful woman. We were together for a while, but things didn't work out. She left, and I guess I was too focused on work to really see it coming. After that, I spent years alone. You don't just bounce back from something like that. But then, 5 years ago, I came out. It felt right. No more hiding or pretending. I've been openly gay since then, and honestly, I'm way happier for it. It hasn't been all smooth sailing. Being single and in my late 30s isn't exactly easy, but I make do. Every Friday, I go out. I hit up a few clubs, nothing too wild, just places where I can have a drink, talk to people, and unwind. It's my little escape from all the numbers and paperwork I deal with during the week. Alright, here we go with the next part. I'll really dig into the details, keep it flowing naturally, like it's coming straight from the heart. So one Friday night, I decided to check out this new spot. I've been hearing about it from a few guys at work. Nothing fancy, just a place with a chill vibe, not too loud, perfect for kicking back after a long week. I'd never been there before, but I figured why not? New faces, maybe some new conversations. I get there, walk in, and right away, I could tell it had a different feel compared to my usual spots. It wasn't overly packed, but enough people were around to make it feel alive. The music wasn't too loud, just a good beat in the background. Dim lighting, cozy booths in the corner, and the bar stretched out in the center. That's where I headed first, of course. Grab a couple shots, loosen up a bit. I sat down, waved over the bartender, and ordered a double shot of tequila to start. You know that feeling when you've been working all week and just want to feel that burn in your chest to shake off the stress? Yeah, that's where I was. First shut down, and I was just starting to feel the edge lift when this guy came and sat down next to me. He was younger. At first glance, maybe early 20s, definitely not more than 21. But damn, he was striking, like one of those guys you notice right away. Black guy, tall, fit, like he looked after himself, but not in an over-the-top way. He had this confidence about him, but it wasn't cocky. He smiled at me and introduced himself, Martin. We started talking, and it was easy. I've had a lot of forced conversations in places like that, but with Martin it just flowed. He told me he'd been going through some tough times. He'd just gotten kicked out of university because he was working too much and missing too many classes. I remember thinking how much that sounded like me at his age, always hustling, trying to get ahead, but sometimes letting things slip. It hit me, Like I could relate to that drive he had, even if it backfired on him. He was sitting there in this white shirt, half unbuttoned, looking casual but sharp at the same time. His skin looked smooth, and there was something about the way he moved, so relaxed but with this energy underneath it. I hadn't had any black partners before, but I won't lie. The thought crossed my mind more than once as we sat there. And after a few more shots, the idea of it got clearer in my head. I started feeling bolder, the tequila kicking in, and I leaned in a little closer. We were sitting side by side, and I could feel the tension building, like this pull between us. So I just said it straight. I asked him if he wanted to have a good time tonight. No games, just putting it out there. He smiled, this slow, confident grin, and nodded without even hesitating. And that was it. Before I knew it, we were outside, jumping into a taxi, and I could already feel the anticipation buzzing under my skin. I don't know if it was the alcohol or just the vibe with him, but I couldn't wait to get back to my place. Every minute in that cab felt like forever. Martin was sitting next to me, looking calm, but I could tell he was just as ready as I was. We finally pulled up to my place, and I barely had time to pay the cab driver before Martin was out, walking toward my door. The tension was thick between us now, that kind where you don't even need to speak because you both know exactly what's about to go down. I fumbled with my keys for a second before getting the door open, and we were barely inside before things escalated. It wasn't a gradual build-up. It was like the second we crossed that threshold, all the restraint was gone. I hadn't even shut the door properly. It was still half open, creaking on its hinges, but I didn't care. Honestly, in that moment, nothing outside that hallway existed. Martin was all over me, hands firm, moving with purpose. There was no hesitation. I wasn't used to that kind of energy, that mix of dominance and ease. He pressed me back against the wall, his body towering over mine in a way that caught me off guard. I'm not a small guy, but there was something about his presence that just took over. He wasn't asking for permission, wasn't unsure of his next move. His lips were on my neck, his breath hot against my skin, and his hands were already exploring my body with this mix of roughness and control. It was raw, intense. Every nerve in my body was firing off, and I could barely keep up with the rush of it. Before I knew it, my shirt was off, and he was working his way down, each touch leaving me more undone than the last. And there we were, right there in my open doorway. Anyone walking past could have seen us. But neither of us cared. The world outside was completely shut out. Martin had me pinned against that wall like it was nothing, his lips tracing my jawline, then lower, his hands slipping lower, making sure I felt every inch of the moment. I couldn't think, couldn't catch my breath. It was all happening fast, but somehow it felt right, like this was exactly what I'd needed without even knowing it. There was something electric in the air between us, something that just made every second more intense. He satisfied me right there, without even letting me pull away or move, and it was one of those moments that was so surreal, you almost don't believe it's happening. Every move, every touch was like a jolt of electricity running through me. And the fact that we were practically still in the open, the door cracked, added this whole layer of thrill to it. By the time we moved from the doorway and actually made it inside, my legs were shaking. It wasn't just the booze or the rush of the night. It was him, the way he was in total control of the situation, and I was letting him take the lead, not thinking, just following whatever wild path he was setting us on. We stumbled inside, laughing quietly, that kind of laughter that happens when the night has been perfect and you're just riding the wave of energy between you. The air still smelled a little like the night outside, cool and fresh, and I hadn't even bothered to fully close the door behind us. But neither of us seemed to care. We were in our own bubble, caught up in the excitement of what was happening, in the feeling that we'd both been moving toward this moment all night. Martin was still in that white shirt, the one he had worn so casually at the bar, just unbuttoned enough to show a hint of his chest. His style was effortless, and that confidence I'd seen in him earlier. It was even stronger now. He had this way of moving, of looking at me, that made everything else fade into the background. The usual worries, the second guessing, all of that disappeared when he was around. We stood there in the hallway, our laughter slowly dying down as the tension between us grew thicker. Not the uncomfortable kind of tension. This was the type that comes when you know exactly what's going to happen, but you're letting it unfold naturally, letting the anticipation build. We didn't need to rush anything. The night had already been so full of conversation and connection that this just felt like the next step, the natural progression of what we both wanted. I remember leaning against the wall for a second just to take it all in. The hallway light was soft, casting shadows along the floor, and Martin's silhouette against that light was something that I can still picture clearly. He wasn't just attractive, he had this presence, this energy about him that made me feel like I'd known him much longer than just a few hours. It was almost like we were on the same wavelength, like we both understood what the other was thinking without needing to say it out loud. He stepped closer, that easy smile still on his face, and there was this moment of silence between us. Not an awkward silence, but the kind where you're both so comfortable in each other's presence that words aren't even necessary. He reached out, his hand brushing my arm lightly, and I could feel my pulse quicken. It was like the whole world narrowed down to just us in that moment. When he leaned in, it wasn't sudden or rushed. It was slow, deliberate, like he was savoring the moment as much as I was. His breath was warm against my neck, and I could feel my skin tingle under the closeness of him. There was something electric about it, something that made the air between us feel charged. I hadn't felt that kind of intensity in years, and it wasn't just the physical attraction, it was the connection, the understanding that we both wanted this. We moved together so naturally, like we'd done this 100 times before. There wasn't any awkward fumbling or hesitation, just this seamless flow between us. Martin's hand slid to the small of my back, pulling me closer, and the warmth of his touch spread through me. It was such a simple gesture, but it felt intimate, like he was saying, "I'm here, and I've got you," without needing to say anything at all. There was this unspoken understanding that neither of us wanted to rush. We had all night, and we both knew it. The hallway stretched out behind us, quiet and empty, but it didn't feel cold or impersonal. With Martin standing so close, it felt like the room was buzzing with energy, like the walls were holding in the excitement that we were both feeling. I could feel my heart racing in my chest, but it wasn't nerves, it was anticipation. I took a step back, pulling him with me, and we moved deeper into the apartment, the sound of our footsteps soft on the hardwood floor. The living room was dimly lit by the soft glow of a lamp in the corner, casting long shadows across the furniture. It wasn't anything fancy, just a couch, a coffee table, a few personal touches scattered around. But with him there, the space felt different. Warmer, more alive. We found ourselves standing in the middle of the room, and I could feel the weight of the moment settling over us. Martin's eyes met mine, and there was this unspoken question hanging between us. Are we really doing this? But it wasn't a question either of us needed to answer. We already knew. We'd known since the moment we left the club together, maybe even before that. He stepped closer again, and this time there was no hesitation. His hands found their way to my waist, his touch firm but gentle, grounding me in the moment. I could feel the warmth of his body against mine, the steady rise and fall of his breath as we stood there, so close that I could almost feel the beat of his heart. It was comforting in a way, like I wasn't just caught up in the excitement, but also in something deeper, something that felt real. We didn't say much, but we didn't need to. The connection was already there, stronger than anything words could capture. Martin's fingers brushed against my side, and I could feel a shiver run down my spine, that electric buzz of anticipation humming under my skin. There was something incredibly intimate about the way he touched me, not just physically, but emotionally. It was like he could sense exactly what I needed, and he gave it without hesitation. We moved to the couch, settling into the soft cushions, and it felt so easy, so natural. Martin sat close to me, his leg brushing against mine, and the proximity alone was enough to send my mind racing. But it wasn't just about the physical attraction, there was something more. Something about the way we fit together in that moment, like everything in the world had led up to this point, and we were exactly where we were supposed to be. He turned toward me, his expression softening as he reached up to brush a strand of hair from my face. It was such a small gesture, but it made my heart skip a beat. I hadn't felt this kind of connection in a long time, and the way Martin looked at me, like he could see straight through to the core of who I was, made me feel seen in a way I hadn't been before. It wasn't just attraction, it was understanding. We sat there for what felt like hours, just talking quietly, our words flowing easily, punctuated by comfortable silences. The night stretched on, and time seemed to lose its meaning. There was no rush, no pressure, just the two of us together in that moment, letting things unfold at their own pace. And as the minutes turned into hours, I realized that whatever happened next, it didn't really matter. What mattered was the connection, the way we both felt so completely at ease with each other. It wasn't just about the physical chemistry, it was about the emotional bond we were building, something that felt deeper than just a one-night encounter. And as the night slowly gave way to morning, I knew that this was a moment I wouldn't forget, no matter what happened next. The next morning, I woke up slowly, blinking against the soft light coming through the blinds. For a moment, I didn't know where I was. It took me a second to remember the night before. I could feel the weight of the blankets, the quiet hum of the world outside, and then I felt it, Martin's hand, resting lightly on my back. I hadn't woken up next to someone in a long time. In fact, I hadn't even realized how much I'd missed it. The simple act of having someone there, close to me, made everything feel so different. There was no loneliness, no emptiness, just the calm, steady presence of another person, someone who'd shared something with me the night before, something that felt more important than I'd expected. Martin was awake. I could tell by the way his fingers moved lightly, tracing lazy patterns on my back. It wasn't rushed, wasn't demanding. It was just gentle, like he was taking his time to wake up too, enjoying the quiet morning with me. I turned my head slightly, and when our eyes met, there was this soft, almost shy smile on his face. "Morning," he murmured, his voice a little rough from sleep, but warm and familiar. It was strange how quickly I'd grown used to him being here, how natural it felt to wake up with him next to me. There wasn't any awkwardness between us, just this quiet understanding that whatever had happened last night, it had been good. And now, we were here together, starting a new day. "Morning," I replied, my voice still a little thick with sleep. I shifted slightly, turning onto my side so I could face him properly. His hand slipped from my back to my arm, his touch still soft and easy, like he was making sure I was okay with this closeness. And I was. More than okay. I didn't feel the need to rush out of bed or make excuses to leave. For the first time in a long time, I actually wanted to stay. We didn't say much at first. There wasn't really a need for words. The silence between us wasn't uncomfortable. It was the kind of quiet that happens when you're perfectly content just being in the same space as someone else. I could feel the warmth of Martin's body next to mine, the steady rhythm of his breathing, and it felt grounding, like everything had slowed down for a bit, and all that mattered was this moment. Eventually, Martin moved a little closer, his hand sliding up to rest on my shoulder, and there was something so intimate about that simple gesture. He wasn't pushing for anything, just letting the moment unfold naturally. I could feel the warmth of his hand, the gentle pressure of his touch, and it sent a shiver down my spine, but not in the way you'd expect. It wasn't about physical desire, it was about feeling connected, feeling wanted. I leaned in slightly, closing the distance between us, and the next thing I knew, our foreheads were touching, the space between us disappearing. His breath was warm against my skin, and the way he looked at me, soft, unhurried, like he was taking his time to really see me, made something in my chest tighten. I hadn't realized how much I needed this kind of connection, this kind of quiet intimacy. And then, almost without thinking, I leaned in the rest of the way, my lips brushing against his in a soft, unhurried kiss. There was no urgency, no rush, just the gentle press of our lips, the slow, almost lazy way we came together. It was like we were both savoring the moment, taking our time to enjoy the closeness, the warmth of each other. It wasn't just about desire, it was about trust, about feeling safe and comfortable in each other's space. Martin responded in kind, his hands slipping to the back of my neck, his fingers brushing through my hair. His touch was light, careful, like he was being mindful of my boundaries, making sure I was okay with everything. And I was. More than okay. Being with him like this, in the quiet of the morning, felt different. It wasn't just physical, it was emotional too, like we were building something between us, something that went beyond just one night. We spent what felt like hours like that, just enjoying each other's company, letting the morning unfold at its own pace. There was no rush, no pressure to move things along. We were both content to just be there together, letting the world outside fade away. The warmth of the blankets, the soft light coming through the window, the steady rhythm of Martin's breathing. It all made me feel so grounded, so present in the moment. At some point, Martin shifted again, rolling onto his back, and I found myself leaning over him, our faces still close. He gave me this small, almost playful smile, his eyes crinkling at the corners, and I couldn't help but smile back. It was such a simple thing, but it made my heart feel lighter, like we were sharing something that went beyond words. As I lay there next to Martin, I couldn't help but think about how weird and good it felt to be exploring a young male body again. It brought back memories of when I was in my 20s, fit, lean, and full of energy. I remember those days fondly, spending hours at the gym, sculpting my body and feeling unstoppable. Now, here I was, with this fit, muscular guy next to me, and it was like tasting youth all over again. The sensation of his warm skin under my lips was electric. I kissed his neck, moving slowly down to his chest, savoring every inch. It was almost surreal how good it felt. The taste of his skin, mixed with that slight saltiness from sweat, was something I hadn't experienced in years. I was rediscovering that thrill of intimacy, and it felt so refreshing. I couldn't help but admire the way his muscles looked, defined and strong. I found myself wanting to explore every part of him, to remember what it was like to be young and carefree. There was something so appealing about his body, the way it moved, the way it responded to my touch. It reminded me of my own past, of how I used to feel, and it was oddly comforting. I thought about how I hadn't really connected with anyone in a long time, and here I was, lost in this moment with him. Each kiss, each brush of our skin, was a reminder of how alive I felt. I was surprised by how natural it all was, how quickly we fell into this rhythm. It wasn't just about physical attraction, it was deeper than that. There was an energy between us, a connection that made everything feel right. I remembered the excitement of exploring a partner's body. Every kiss, every touch held a thrill of discovery. With Martin, it felt like I was experiencing that all over again. I could taste the anticipation in the air, and I wanted to soak it all in. The way his muscles felt beneath my fingers, the warmth radiating from him, it was intoxicating. It was weird, but in the best way. I hadn't expected to feel this kind of spark again, especially with someone so much younger. But it was real, and it felt good. I realized that age didn't matter as much as I thought it did. What mattered was the connection we were building, the moments we were sharing. I was reminded that exploring someone else's body could reignite that fire within myself, that feeling of being young and alive. So, as I kissed my way down his body, I embraced the experience. This wasn't just about physical intimacy, it was about rediscovering myself through him. And I had a feeling that this was just the beginning of something really special. So fast forward to now, Martin and I are officially dating. It's kind of wild when I think about it, especially considering the almost 20-year age gap between us. I mean, I never thought I'd be in a relationship with someone so much younger, but here we are, and honestly, it feels amazing. There's this easy comfort between us that I didn't expect. We click on so many levels, our conversations flow effortlessly, we laugh at the same silly jokes, and it feels like we've known each other forever, even though it's only been a short time. It's refreshing to be with someone who brings that youthful energy into my life, but also knows how to connect on a deeper level. In bed, it's been nothing short of incredible. I can honestly say that this has been the best experience I've ever had. It's like he unlocked something in me that I forgot existed. Every moment feels electric, and the way we explore each other is just, wow. There's a passion there that I hadn't felt in a long time. Martin is confident and adventurous, and it's fun to explore that together. The chemistry we share is off the charts. I love how we can be playful one moment and completely in sync the next. Every time we're together, it feels like an adventure, and I find myself looking forward to each moment. It's like discovering new parts of myself through him, and I can't get enough of it. Honestly, I've been in numerous relationships before, but nothing compares to this. Martin isn't just a partner, he's someone I genuinely enjoy being around. The way he sees the world, his enthusiasm for life, it's contagious. And in the bedroom, it's like we're exploring uncharted territory together, always finding new ways to connect and share that intimacy. I've learned that age is just a number. What matters is the connection we have, the mutual respect and understanding that's grown between us. Martin has brought so much joy into my life, and I can't help but feel grateful for this experience. It's refreshing to be with someone who reminds me how to be present, to enjoy life in the moment, and to embrace new possibilities. So here's to us, a 38-year-old guy and a 20-year-old dynamo, navigating this journey together. It's been a wild ride, but I wouldn't trade it for anything. I'm excited to see where this relationship takes us and to keep discovering what makes us tick, both in and out of bed. I never thought I'd say this, but this young man is truly the best partner I've ever had, and I can't wait for what's next. Thanks for your watching and thank you for your story. If you have some story, please send it to our mail, link in the description. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and see you tomorrow.